Michelle.
Hey, Mel. Look at this. Me on the couch, you in the wild, in your backyard.
Yeah, I'm on my backyard couch. It was just too nice of a day to sit inside, so I'm joining you from the outside.
Very nice, very nice. Well, it's too bloody cold here to be on the outside. So here I am on the couch, ready to talk about stuff. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, I think we're going to have a little chat about questions today and asking questions. And we're going to start with the courageous ask inside a career that soars. So, a career that soars, briefly, our platform, our network for ambitious career women. We have something inside a career that soars called the courageous ask. Tell us about that. What is it? Why do we have it?
So the courageous ask comes from our co-founder Susan Colantuno, and she talks about and I talk about in the leadership programs that I run about a courageous ask, and it's in the context of a bunch of things, whether it's with your mentor, with your boss, with networking, but a courageous ask is essentially it's me stepping forward and saying, I have a need. I'm going to ask from a position of competency and credibility. So I'm not going to fluff around or say, oh, you might not want to ask, you might not want to answer this, or you're too busy or whatever. I'm going to say, I have a need. I make a straightforward request for assistance. That is very, very clear about what I'm looking for from the audience. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's saying, I need something from you, Mel, and I'm going to have a courageous ask. And it's courageous because it's, number one, you're putting yourself out there by saying, I need something. So you're demonstrating some vulnerability. And number two, you're courageous because you're approaching someone who can help you with your need. In the context of a career that soars, we have topics or like hashtags so that you can follow various topics. And one of them is the courageous ask, which our members really appreciate. And it's probably one of our most popular topics. And it's the topic where our members can post their courageous ask. And often enough, it is around how do I navigate a particular matter or issue that's going on in my workplace that I really need help with. And it's everything from, how do I ask this question in my next salary review?
Mm-hmm.
Can I get some more money? How do I ask for a salary review, to positioning myself for this interview, for asking for a mentor, or even dealing with some pretty significant workplace issues. And our members post to say, help me with this. And then the whole wisdom of our whole community gets behind and comes and gives them advice. So it's like mentoring on steroids.
Yeah, that's
So
really
that's what it is.
the beauty of it, right, is that collective wisdom that gets shared that you were just talking about. And that's one of the benefits of being involved with any community, right, is getting access to that knowledge to get support. So another way that we facilitate the courageous ask is as an anonymous ask. So if someone in the group has a very tricky situation that they need support on, but they feel like they can't be transparent about their own identity or the identity of the company that they're working for, they can send the question to one of the hosts, and we post it on their behalf as an anonymous ask. So talk to us a little bit about that and what you've seen from this anonymous ask.
Yeah. So as you said, Mel, there are just times when it's, we have a definitely Chatham House rules. What happens on tour stays on tour within the community, and it is very much women supporting women. But there are just times when people don't want to be identified for a whole range of reasons, and it could be because there are we've got a big network and people know each other. So typically women have come to you or I and said, listen, can you post this on my behalf? And those ones tend to be the more gnarly kind of issues. And, without, no names, no pactual, of course, we've got one at the moment, which is One of our members came to me recently and just said, in my words, she has a very, in fact, you gave advice, Mel. It's actually definitely a toxic workplace, it's a hostile work environment. And she wants help with how to navigate this hostile work environment as quite a senior leader. And the advice that's already flooding in from our members, and we have members who are very, very senior HR professionals. We've got CEOs, we've got middle managers, executives, people on boards. So we get, and of course, global. So we get lots of different perspectives that are not, geographically placed in one area. So, yeah. So, look, I think the anonymous ask has been, I know from the women that have asked me to post on their behalf, they've been able to then just watch the responses that come through and help them process this matter or this issue that they're going through to then have another conversation. And sometimes that the next conversation might be with me or you or someone separately. I certainly like to provide coaching to our members one-on-one, particularly when they're in such a desperate need. But often they then come away with a bit more of an action plan about what to do now. And I certainly know from a previous anonymous ask, she was able to form a course of action that she hadn't considered herself, which had some really positive consequences for her. So I think it's, as I said, it's one of our most popular topics, and I love seeing our members who may not be active in terms of posting themselves, but they respond really well to this ask from another member. They respond really well to, how can I help another woman in business out here? It's so for me, I find it really gratifying to see how our community gets around other women when they've got a really significant need.
Absolutely. And I'm just remembering a time, and this was years ago before I joined A Career That Soars. I had formed a little cohort of women, and we would meet every so often to talk about how our careers would going and if we needed help. And I ran into a situation at work that it was dealing with someone who had been hostile to me at work in front of others. And at the immediate time, it was really not clear to me how to respond to it and how to handle it. And I took it to this group of women, and I got perspective that I just couldn't have come up with on my own. And it was from talking to people who had different lived experiences and had run into, challenges of their own that they'd handled in different ways. And through that, I feel like the best advice that I could have received to proceed in the most professional way. And it just benefited me hugely. So I can't underemphasize how wonderful it is to have the resource to, make a courageous ask and get feedback from a variety of people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I concur, and I can certainly think of times, funnily enough, whenever we talk about this, I always think of one particular time in my career, and it was not when I was a young manager, it was actually when I was very, very senior, when I had a hostile environment, and it was with a boss, and I kind of didn't really have anyone to go to, because the networks that I was in were within that workplace, and this person that was being hostile to me was extraordinarily senior and powerful, and I had no perspective other than I kept thinking, it must be me, and it wasn't actually until I made a courageous ask of another woman in the organisation. I happened to say something. She went, "Oh, no, it's not you. It's him. He's well known for this." I went, "Oh, my God, why didn't anyone know? I'm thinking it was me." So this is if you've ever thought, I think it's me, I think there's something wrong with me, or I must be causing this, or whatever, this is where, the power of women's networks, particularly, obviously, because we support women in workplaces, can't be underestimated. It is so important to feel that support around you. And as you said, Mel, to gain those different perspectives, and particularly from those, and I noticed that Amal, one of our co-hosts, has commented on this particular matter just this morning, and she is an employee relations expert. So she's got this real technical expertise and wisdom to share. So yeah, that's our Courageous Ask, and I think it's a real service to women who women who need support, but also women who want to support other women. It's a very much we've got supply side, demand side, and it comes together beautifully.
Well, give and take, right? And
yeah.
Dear listeners, Amal will be on an upcoming episode of Lead to Soar. We've recorded it. That's going to come out soon. So be on the lookout for that. I know you've probably listened to a previous episode with her and you know how great she is. So this is another fantastic one. And I think what we want to leave you all with is if you have questions that you'd like Michelle and I to answer either on a live or on a future podcast episode, there's a tool on the Lead to Soar website where you can go and record a little voicemail and we answer those questions. So it's just leadtosoar.com and just scroll down a little bit and you'll see the little speak pipe tool where you can leave your voicemail question. We'd love to hear from you.
We would indeed, and I'm just looking for the link right now to put into the chat. But it's really gratifying to hear from people, pardon me, from people to say, "Can you talk about this? We want to hear." Excuse me. We want to hear from you about this because it helps us shape our conversations, and it also, excuse me, I'm going to cough. Dreadful. It also helps us to be in service of you because we do this to be in service of women in organisations and leaders in organisation of all genders, but particularly for women. So if you've got something on your mind, and I'm just posting the Speak Pipe link there now, but if you've got something on your mind that you think, I've seen this occur and you'd really like Mel and I to talk about it, well, that's what we're here to do, to be in service of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right, Mel, will you enjoy your summer evening there in Wisconsin? And I'm going to knuckle down and do a whole bunch of stuff here it is a sunny, but it's a cold day here in Melbourne.
Yeah. Okay. It's been really nice chatting with you.
You too, Mel. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.